Hello students, I welcome you all to the part 5 of Unit 2, the End of Bipolarity of Class 12 Political Science. Students, in our last class we have already discussed about the topics like disintegration of Soviet Russia, the consequences of disintegration, then also we have discussed about the meaning of shock therapy, and then we have learned about the aims and objectives of the shock therapy. Okay, and in today's class we will basically deal with the topic consequences of shock therapy. That means after the shock therapy, what were the consequences that have been uh, found in the post Soviet republics, right? Well, then today we'll first see the first consequence that has led by shock therapy. Students, let me tell you what shock therapy was first. Again, I want to remind you, shock therapy was the transition from authoritarian system to a democratic system. Previously the system was very much authoritarian. Now it had transformed into a democratic system after disintegration. Okay, and democratic system was being inspired by the Western model of democracy. So that is why here completely the Western system or the Western political system have been replaced. Was being installed, okay, in place of the socialist system, right? So it was initially intended that the shock therapy would be bringing a revolutionary changes, and all people will be able to get the benefit of this change. Okay, but it was not going into the equal pace what people were anticipating, right, from the shock therapy or installation of the capitalist or the democratic system, but it was not going equal into equal pace. Okay, so it had resulted many negative consequences as well, right? And today we'll try to throw some light on those negative consequences that shock therapy has brought about in the post-Soviet republics. Clear? Let us see. First one, state control industrial complexes were collapsed. What is this? Previously, the industries were controlled by the state. Okay, in the socialist system already we have discussed, the industries and all the properties are being generally controlled by the state. It is under the control of government or state, right? Now after disintegration, since they were planning for the bringing of the capitalist system, so state control industrial complexes were collapsed. Okay, as privatization was brought about, 90% of industries in Russia were put up for sale to private individuals and companies. See, since we were planning for the privatization in the shock therapy, through shock therapy, okay, so 90% of the industries were put to sale. 90% industries were already sold to the private individuals or the companies. Just you see the change. Okay, with the help of this chart also you can see here, from state control to the individual control it was transformed. Clear? Then this has resulted many thing. Okay, now we will see in the further points. Now value of Russian currency was declined. This is second point. So how the value of Russian currency was declined? You see, uh, Russian currency was called ruble. Okay, and this ruble was declined dramatically. The rate of inflation was so high that people lost all their savings. Means in the capitalist system, the inflation is one of the major economic issues. I hope you have read about these things in economic subject also. Okay, one of the major problem that we find generally in the capitalist system of economy is the inflation. Okay, so inflation and deflation, both these problems which results the economic crisis. The 1929 great economic crisis also, somewhere it is related with this economic issue only. Okay, that is not our matter of discussion here, but just you have to remember is that Russian currency's value was declined. Basically, though there were many republics apart from Russia, there were other 14 republics, but especially Russia had felt this problem. Okay, now the GDP that was, because the currency was declining, value of currency was declining, so that is why it was also causing some harm to the GDP. Okay, So if we compare the GDP of 1989, which was before in disintegration, and after disintegration, that is after 10 years in 1999, then there is a huge change. Okay, huge change means what? It is not increasing. The growth rate was very less. Okay, the GDP growth rate was very less here in 1999. So that means what? It was a negative effect in the economic aspect of Russia. Clear? So this is caused by what? This is caused by the shock therapy only, as people were expecting from the shock therapy something good to come, right? But it was not turning into that. Next, the old social welfare structure was destroyed. Means previously the social welfare was the main motto of the socialist economy, right? So it was, we have already discussed in the Soviet system that egalitarian society it wanted to build, right? Where all people will be, getting equal opportunities, and all would be treated equally, right? Be it politically or economically or socially, but people would be given equal privileges there in the socialist system, right? But here this old social welfare structure, welfare means something, good, okay, done by the government, right? What happened? You see, the withdrawal of government subsidies pushed large sections of people into poverty. Why government has withdrawn this the subsidies? Because in private I mean capitalist system of economy, these welfare activities are not given much importance. Okay, here equal opportunities for all may not be ensured. Okay, here people are free in capitalist system. Those who can, earn more, he will be rich, and those who cannot, incapable of doing that, he will be remaining poor, right? So the poor will not be given much more concentration or extra support by the government. Okay, so the government generally interfere very less here in the economic life of the people, right? Whereas in socialist system we do not get this. Okay, so that is why the government subsidies were withdrawn. Capitalist government was not giving at all importance for the subsidies of the people, right? So the middle class people were pushed to the periphery of the society. See, middle class means who? Those who are not poor, not rich. Okay, who are in the middle of the rich and poor, right? So these middle class people now they were pushed to the periphery. Periphery means the poorer section of the people, okay, or the society, right? So this was the result. The middle class people basically face this problem. Okay, so this is also one of the important consequence of what? Shock therapy. Next, you see, new kind of disparities led by the privatization. Disparities means what? Differences. Okay, differences in what? Differences among the people, right? What kind of new disparities led by the privatization? Let us see. The introduction of privatization has simultaneously resulted a new disparities in society, especially in Russia. It created rich and poor region. Means the capitalist system since does not focus much on the individual development or individual welfare, right? So here the individuals are free. Those who are capable enough, those who were rich already, right, they were now, able to do more development. Okay, and those who were not, able to, I mean those who were not rich, or those were middle class or the poorer section of people, so they were now pushed to the more, miserable condition, okay, of the society, right? And this is how the, regions also, okay, were created as rich and poor region within Russia. Especially we are talking about Russia. In other regions also this kind of, experiences we have seen, but basically we witness these disparities led by the privatization in the Republic of Russia. Okay, coming to the next point, you see, democratic transition was not smooth. Means the shock therapy not only wanted to bring the capitalist system, but also wanted to bring the democratic system in place of authoritarian. Okay, but though it intended to bring the democratic system, but the transition was not smooth. Okay, somewhere, the constitution, the democratic constitution was made so hurriedly. Okay, as a result of which the executive was given much more power, and the people's elected body, that is we call parliament here in our country, right? So such elected bodies were given less power, right? So kind of, again, I mean, it was a cycle of authoritarian, we can say. Though we said that authoritarian system we have ended after disintegration, and through shock therapy we are bringing the democratic system, but again we can see the cycle of authoritarian system here. Okay, so it was not ended completely. Okay, the people who were very powerful and very influential group. Okay, so they were able to influence the poor people and continue to dominate the rest of the poor or the middle class people. Clear? So you can see here, thus Russia had strong executive president with widest possible power that rendered elected parliament relatively weak. Yes, the elected parliament was relatively weak. Why it was so? Because the executive was much more power. Which has given this? This has been given by the constitution, and that constitution was designed or drafted very quickly or very hurriedly. Clear? So that was the reason why the transition from authoritarian to democracy was not smooth. I hope it is clear. Next to this, natural resources were continued to be drained. Okay, previously the natural resources were being drained by whom? By the you know uh, the regions which were rich in industries. Okay, for example, the Russia was the republic of Soviet Union, which was very much rich in during the Cold War time or during Soviet system. Okay, now after that, what happened? Those Central Asian countries, I think you remember, 5 countries were there and other countries. So their resources, they were very rich in resources, but they were not having the industries to utilize the natural resources, right? So they were left out with no industries after disintegration. So what they had to do is that they had to give the natural resources to other countries. Means they were exporting the natural resources to revive their economy, right? Their economy was being ruined after disintegration, right? So that is why, to revive their economy temporarily, they will they started exporting the natural or raw materials to abroad. Okay, and this resulted the continuation of the drain of the natural resources from those peripheral regions of the Soviet system. Now we call this independent nation states. I hope this is clear. Now with this, we have come to the end of this today's video lecture. Okay, so rest of the things we will discuss in the next class. Clear? Okay, thank you.